Alrighty, welcome back. Another episode of Post-Fades Cheesesteaks. The return of Mr. Timothy Mullen. How do we do?
I'm good. I'm good. It's been too long. I
Yeah,
missed your face.
I had to do a solo episode last week, and that was it was rough. I didn't have
it's a
any
weird thing.
moron in my ear. I didn't have
It's true.
some barbaric conversation going on, but
I feel like we've done a disjustice to our fans by being, our timing and our scheduling has been rough. But you
yeah,
speak on the solo episode. I had to do a little solo clips before, and I gotta say
that's
it's
true.
not the same.
It's
I was like, I lost my passion when I have no one to yell at and hear something stupid. Like
yeah.
it's the gasoline I pour on my fire. It's hard to
Mm,
really spread. I can get the embers going, but it can't really spread anywhere.
it's a fair point. It's a fair
So
point.
I've missed you, my dear friend. It's good to be back.
It is good to be
Merry
back.
Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas as well. I got my little Santa hat. What do you got rocking there?
Reindeers, baby. Reindeers.
Oh, a little reindeer action. I like it. I like it.
It's a
And what
classic.
and what
It's
are
a
we sip
classic.
what are we sipping on?
G&T.
Okay. I got a little
Keep it festive.
little Southern Mule action. A little
Copper Cup. Classy.
yeah. Yeah. Little it's Jameson Orange, if you've ever had that.
It's interesting. Sounds festive. Do you use that copper cup for anything else, or is that one of those cups that like you just use
I
for
just
solely this
found it.
purpose?
I just found it
Okay.
in the cupboard. So
So most likely it was only for that, and that's why it was buried deep in the cupboard.
yeah. So
Fair enough.
yeah.
But we've had a lot of exciting football in the last 3 weeks now. I
Yeah.
mean, the Eagles, nothing's changed. They continue to keep winning. Like
Yeah.
we could have been just signed off for the last like 6 weeks, and it just would have been the same thing. They just keep winning.
And they keep winning in different ways. Is like
Oh
my
yeah,
So like the thing people were like comparing them to was like, oh, they're like the Cardinals or the Steelers who were undefeated and then like faded out towards the end of the year. But I kept saying like it doesn't seem like this kind of team, and
yeah.
they've proven it. Like what was it, the Packers game where they ran? Was it they threw a lot or they ran a lot? I'm trying to remember. I think the
Packers game,
Packers they ran a lot, right?
yeah, I think so. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
the
and
game
then
that they ran, but they couldn't stop anyone before they
right,
signed the
yeah.
ball and
So
so.
they ran for like what 200, 300 yards, and then the next game was against what the Titans, and they threw for like three
Oh
hundred,
yeah,
four
AJ
hundred
Brown
yards.
8. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm like they can do it. Like if you take out one phase of their offense, they will switch to something else. And like against Chicago, um, they
they had the
struggled
right.
early. I mean, Hertz admitted that he said it was much colder than he thought, and he was like his hands were cold. I mean, it's a weird excuse, but he was saying he wasn't like prepared for it. He did like a little rough in the first quarter, and then the second quarter a bit, but I mean, they found ways to win. They kind of did like a little short game action and then would hit a couple of long balls. And man,
Hey,
Devontae
listen,
is such a baller. Like he'll go up
he
and get
is.
anything. He'll challenge anybody. I love that. Even for how
I
like
think
small he
what
is.
I think what gets ignored when it comes to him is like we are just drooling over AJ Brown, how elite of a wide receiver he
Respectfully,
is, because
yeah.
we have never, yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah.
We've never seen a wide receiver as good as him since like Tio. But like we underestimate like Devontae Smith is very good and he's developing even more. Like
He
he's
sh
looks so good.
he's in the I think he's over 900 now, so he should get 1,000 yards by the end of the season. We'll have 2,000 yard receivers, 1,000 yard rusher, and an MVP caliber QB. So
Yeah,
I
not
will
bad.
I will
Not
ask you, do
bad.
you think does Jalen potentially not playing the next couple games, is that going to impact his MVP chances?
Well, I mean,
This is what happened to Carson when he had that good season, and
I
then
still think if I'm getting the MVP, I mean, we can argue about whether it's right or wrong or who we think. I think this is Patrick Mahomes' award and it's pretty much his unless he gets injured. But
mm,
you know how it goes. Once the narrative is written, because it's a quarterback award, we all know that
yeah,
now.
yeah,
So once the narrative is written about a certain quarterback, and the league loves their superstar quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes being one of them, you know that the narrative, oh, Tyreek Hill left and he's still dominating. He's
mm,
awesome, blah, blah, blah. I think it's already built itself, so I'd be really shocked at this point if it's anyone but him. Um, so I think Jalen's probably okay, and I do think the Eagles are going to have the first seed wrapped up in, I mean, you know, one more week
yeah,
probably. The things are going to be wrapped up pretty quickly. I mean, my only concern with Jalen missing the time is I don't know if I want him to miss 3 weeks to a month before he gets his first playoff game or his
yeah.
second career playoff game, but That's my only hesitation there. I really hope he's healthy enough to go against the Saints just so we can get some live action. Because obviously that last game, no one's playing, and then they'll have the bye.
Yeah, and I think last year it kind of showed that having the bye isn't always that great because some of those teams just came out really flat, and then they now that they lost, they weren't in the playoffs anymore. So
Yeah, I mean, I still think there's obviously value in it. It's just
yeah,
Eagles are going to wrap this up so quickly. I mean, you could legitimately make the case that they don't even need to play the starters against the Saints. I mean, they'll probably still get the first seed. I mean, if the Vikings manage to, lose that game, or the Colts managed, I should say, managed to hold on, then you'd pretty much have the first seed locked up with a bow on it by now. But
yeah.
what are you going to do? I do want to say, because I've been saving this rant for 3 weeks now, because one of the most annoying things I've heard for this entire season, and now it's starting to drift away because they've got beaten a couple good teams, but all the people that have said, "Oh, who have the Eagles beat? Oh, the Eagles have beaten. Oh, they suck. Oh, they suck. Oh, they're terrible. Oh, show me a real team. Oh, they're
Yeah.
terrible. Oh, yeah, we just beaten the Cowboys, the Vikings, and but we still don't play anyone." So then we went on and embarrassed. I mean, we took the starters out in the second half against a division leader in the AFC, the better conference,
Mm-hmm.
and the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
Then we went along and crushed everyone's darling from New York. Oh, Brian Dable, he's the coach of the year. Daniel Jones he's not a bust. This defense is incredible. And then they just destroyed them
Yeah.
again. Those are two playoff teams that they had their way with. This wasn't close. This wasn't a tight game. This wasn't anything close to competition. This was an ass whooping 2 weeks in a row against quality competition that our starters didn't even finish the game. The thing with the Eagles, it's not that they're not playing anyone that matters. It's just they're not playing any games that matter because the games they play are over in the third quarter.
True.
But I
True.
think I think that narrative is starting to go away now because now it's making
I
people look
haven't.
like an
Yeah,
idiot.
I haven't heard it as much. But yeah, I would just like go on like I see like a post on Instagram or something. And people be like, "Yeah, but look at who they played. It's like look at who they like." You don't know
It
what teams are going to be good like at the start of the season, and like you win the games you're given. Like it's not about like it's hard to win games in the NFL, especially 13 of them. Like you're
oh
childish
yeah.
if that's your argument.
Well, what makes me want to bash my head into a wall is when the same person ripping the Eagles because they don't play anyone is the same person praising the Cowboys and how great they are. I'm
Hmm.
like, I'm sorry. The Eagles destroyed the Cowboys. Does
Yeah,
1 plus 1 not equal 2, or are we ignoring that? Or the Vikings, everyone's darling. Oh, it's their year. Justin Jefferson's awesome. Kirk Cousins, this defense, blah blah blah. Oh, I'm sorry. Did they not get destroyed by the? I must have forgot about that. It's amazing. But now that they knocked off two quality teams, I mean, in the Giants' case, I think they're complete frauds.
you've been
It took
saying
us
this,
too
yeah.
long. I mean, the Giants are frauds. Honestly, it's too late in the season that we played the Giants to expose them. Because if we played them earlier in the season, that would have been exposed early enough. But yeah, they stink. The Titans, I still think they kind of stink too. But I think they're better.
They've lost. They were 7-3. Now they're 7-7.
Yeah, things come at you pretty quickly. So what happens when? And I'm waiting for the world to collapse when the whole excuse is, "Oh, we only beat the Cowboys because Cooper Rush is playing." So what happens when we beat the Cowboys with our backup quarterback?
Yeah, I'm waiting for it.
Like
I
life
would.
does come around
Oh man.
360, doesn't it?
Oh, it would be divine justice. It would be so nice because I'm thinking about it like everyone was talking all that like oh well it was Cooper Rush. I was like Cooper Rush was doing fine for you guys
Yeah,
for
he
four
was fine up
weeks.
until he played the Eagles.
Now that he looked like shit against a good defense, you're gonna make excuses. Now that Micah Parsons got he wasn't exposed, but he was isolated, and the Eagles found out a way to get him away from the play and destroyed that defense. There was only a game because the Eagles let off the pedal. They were up 20
Oh
nothing in the
yeah,
half. Like I don't want to hear that. Like oh, it was Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush doesn't play defense. Like
yeah.
come on now.
He if Nick Sirianni wins Coach of the Year, which I have to think right now off the top of your head, is he your front runner? Because he's my front runner. Now that the Dayball
I
nonsense has calmed
mean,
down, I'll give it. You know what? Surprise sleeper in there. Dougie P.
I was
Dougie
gonna
P.
say if they make the
is in con-
playoffs, if they make the playoffs,
him and Dan Campbell are like my sleepers.
if either of those teams make the playoffs, that coach deserves. The Jaguars, if the Jaguars win out, they make the playoffs, which is wild. But
Yeah.
I don't know what Detroit's like, how they can get in. They're right there. I think they're only a game behind the Giants and the
Well, yeah, the NFC is a joke.
Washington.
But okay, before I get too off point, what I wanted to say is it more impressive what Dougie P and Dan Campbell are doing, taking bottom feeders to playoff fringe, or Nick Sirianni taking playoff fringe to juggernaut?
I I from so love love the Eagles, but I think the other two are more impactful just because I mean you look at the Lions and they've been a cesspool for years. Ever since,
True.
basically since Calvin Johnson left, they've been I mean even when he was there, they
I
weren't
mean, they
that good.
worry, yeah.
Yeah.
Since me and you have been alive.
Yeah. So like Dan Campbell, like you've seen this process of him slowly building it so that like him winning that award would be like the final like full circle of it all coming together. Whereas Dougie P is like Urban Meyer destroyed that team. The
Yeah,
locker room was a mess, and I don't know if you caught any of the Thursday game, but the announcers were pointing out these like quotes that players were interviewed on the Jaguars side and like how Dougie P has like impacted the locker room and stuff, and they all had like oh it's like a whole different culture. Like he makes you want to play hard, he makes you want to play for him, and like great character, great energy, and all this stuff. And like you said, here they are. Trevor Lawrence looks
yeah,
phenomenal.
he does.
Another 4 touchdown game, I think it was, or no, not 4 touchdown. The week before was 4 against Dallas. But
Good game that, yeah. No, he looked good. He did look. I listen. I love Dougie. We all love Dougie. We'll never stop loving Dougie. And I'm not surprised by him and Dom like being as good as he is now. I'm not
oh
surprised
yeah,
at all by that. But I'm going to take the other stance here. I think the NFL is a parity league. Most teams are 8-8 or 2 games above it, 2 games below it. To get to
hmm
that fringe playoff success isn't, I won't say not hard, but that's what the league is a whole bunch of fringe playoff teams. Teams that are right in the hunt, teams that are in the playoffs, and teams that, are division winners. I don't think that's the hardest part to get, especially with the salary cap and everything. Those terrible teams, the Jags, the Lions, they usually have a ton of money, great draft picks and all that.
yeah.
To get to the juggernaut status now that's tough.
I
That
get
is
it.
very tough.
I get it, but I think on paper and then on the field, it's very, very clear how talented this team is at all facets.
You're right.
Um, and I would even say the Bears game, I wouldn't even put it on Jalen or anybody else. I think it was poor play calling, poor coaching that led to that really slow start in that game, and then like the fact that it was close at the end. But
Oh yeah, yeah, no, yeah.
I think Sirianni is doing phenomenal, especially in his second year. I mean, Doug went to the Super Bowl in his second year, so this is very
It's
reminiscent of
very
that.
true.
But yeah, I don't know. I just think he's got so much talent to work with, and now that he's kind of let the reins go to the offensive coordinator to call the plays, and he's just focusing on coaching. Yeah, I like coaching the team itself, not individual units on the field. I think he's in the conversation. Absolutely, I'd have him over Dable, but I think if either the Lions or the Jags make the playoffs, one of those coaches gets it. But if they both make it, I'd probably I I don't know. I would probably give it to Dan Campbell. Honestly, I think it's just like the story is just there. It's
Hey,
just like a
listen, he's a
good.
good coach. I like him and all, but power rankings right now, coach of the year, if I had to give it out, still Sirianni at 1. I give Doug 2 because of how much of a toxic cesspool that was last year, and it's his first year,
Mm,
and Dan Campbell at 3. And you know what? If Sirianni wins this award, and he would have my vote, what the one game play series or whatever you want to say it to define this season for him as coach of the year is going to be embarrassing everyone's defensive player of the year that everyone couldn't stop drooling about in that first Dallas game. He made Micah Parsons look like an idiot. Like there's really no other way to put it. Like this was the most dominant defender in the NFL. If you asked 10 NFL experts, it was the first person they pick without even thinking. And he wasn't scared. He wasn't afraid. He didn't game plan away from. He went directly at the guy and made him look like a fool.
yeah.
And I think that is what Sirianni takes. Plus, as a head coach, you got to get the coaches below him. I give a lot of credit to the head coach as well. Stoutland is awesome. That offensive line has been a juggernaut, and he's had a lot to do it. Gannon's looked really good. I mean, I don't know if I'm the team that would hire him as head coach, but I get it.
Yeah, no,
And
I don't know about all that.
even little listen, Shane Steichen calling plays. The Bears game was a little iffy, and there's kind of one or two games that seemed a little iffy, but all in all, I think the play callings look pretty good and the game plan. It's a good coaching unit that Sirianni's built and developed, and I think he's got to deserve some credit there. There's no weakness on this team. I think he's a great coach, and he's my guy. If I had to end the season right now, vote for a guy. He's the guy, without a doubt.
That's fine. That's fair. I do think like kind of the rumblings have been if the Eagles do go on to the Super Bowl, there's a likely chance that we'll lose both Gannon and I always forget what his name is. Steichen.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think Gannon, yeah. Steichen, I don't think is going anywhere. He's had one season as offense coordinator.
He's been OC for a couple. He was OC in LA though with the Chargers. So
yeah, I don't know. I'd be very surprised.
anyways, there were other
Moving
games. On. Yes. So we had so today's Friday. So last Thursday, not yesterday, was 49ers and Seahawks. Pretty low scoring game. Niners pulled it off 21-13. Seahawks have lost like 3 straight, I think now.
Yeah, the Geno Smith magic is kind of run out.
Vikings Vikings beat the Colts in possibly the craziest comeback I've ever witnessed. Like I saw that it was like 33-0 Colts to like half or close to half, and I was like, oh wow. Like, and I was like, oh, it was a defensive touchdown, block kick, this and that. And then I was watching like kind of in the background, so I was like, oh, Vikings scored, and then I was like, all right, well the Colts are like they'll take care of it. Oh, the Vikings got the ball back. Oh, they scored again. Oh, it's tied. Oh, we're going to overtime. Oh, the Vikings won. Like, it's just.
I heard that story before.
How you, and I do have a too much whiz for this game, but like, how do you even like let that happen? It was somebody, was you or Nick or Bobby in our one group chat was saying something about, is it possible to fire a coach, the 2 coaches in one season if you're on the same team? Like, that was a pretty bad coaching job.
Yeah, that was. I mean, to be fair, we can get back into this. Like, when you hire an ESPN analysis with no coaching experience, this is kind of what you can probably expect.
Yeah.
I mean, like, just going off just Saturday's personality, I wouldn't be surprised if he was like toasting to the good life at halftime. Like, just, oh, let's go, guys. We got this. We just knocked off the 10-3 Vikings, whatever the hell they are.
Yeah.
Like, Jeff Saturday strikes me as a guy that was prepared, that had a victory speech at halftime. And then it blew up in his face.
Yeah.
He's like the owner that comes down to the field, like when the game's almost over, and then just to watch his team lose. Like when Arthur Blank came down the Super Bowl, or Jerry Jones has done numerous of times. He just seems like the type of coach that is like smiling, cheering it up, slapping the Raiders, shaking the hands, like, "Oh, Jeff, we're still on the field. You want to call a play? Nah, we're done. Chill with the boys." Yeah. He strikes me as that. That's what he reminds me as a coach.
Yeah.
But it kind of played out exactly like that. So, can't say we're surprised.
Yeah. So there was that game. I think it was the greatest comeback in NFL history, they said. So that's like not like score to like time left wise, but yeah. Moving on, we had the last Saturday game of last week was the Browns beat the Ravens 13-3. Lamar didn't play. And I mean, it was a pretty ugly game, but Browns
can I just say there was 3 games on Saturday. I forget who the announcers were, but could you imagine being the ones that got stuck with the Browns and Ravens without Lamar Jackson when you had a 33-point comeback and then you had the Bills versus the Dolphins in a blizzard?
Yeah.
Like, oh god, talk about a short straw. That game was painful too. That Browns Ravens game. There was nothing exciting.
That was what, the 4:00, and then the 8:00 game was Bills and the Dolphins, and Bills won 32-29 over the Finns, and a pretty good game. Yeah, like you said, it was a blizzard. The fans were singing, Christmas carols and throwing snowballs. So it's a good time.
Great stuff.
Yeah, great stuff. Then on Sunday, excuse me, the Eagles, like we said, beat the Bears 25-20. Yes, Lions took care of business over the Jets 20-17. Steelers beat the Panthers 24-16 in a game nobody cares about. I'm so mad about this next game, the Chiefs and the Texans, because I picked the Texans to upset the Chiefs, and they came so close. They they they
Yeah,
pushed the Chiefs into overtime, and then the Chiefs did
but
their thing.
you kind of knew it wasn't going to happen.
I mean that for them to get to overtime, I mean that's a W in my book. But I did bet on them, so like that kind of fucked me over. But yeah, if the Texans and the Falcons would have won, I would have been 2 grand richer. So I'm a little upset about that. But
Hey, that's life, man. That's
it's
life.
life. But yeah, so that was a great game. And then the Saints beat the Falcons. And Falcons blew another lead at the end of the game there. So that's always fun. Jags took care of the Cowboys, 40-34. Another overtime game.
Oh, that was beautiful.
They
That
were,
was
I forget. I think it was the Jags were up right for a while, and then Dallas came back, and then Dallas was up, and then the Jags came back and tied it. I think Dallas was up big actually in the fourth, like 10 points or 15, whatever. I don't know. And then Jaguars came back. Lawrence was on point, shredding that vaunted Cowboys defense.
oh yes, very vaunted.
Took it to
Yeah.
OT, got the dub, and then I think someone said the report was like an Eagles staff sent Doug Peterson like 35 cheesesteaks for beating the Cowboys.
I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So
Listen, Doug deserves 35 cheesesteaks regardless if he beats the Cowboys or not. Doug's legend. But man, beating the Cowboys in that game,
Ooh-wee.
non-Eagles. Actually, you know what? That game was better than I'd say half the Eagles game this year. Like joy that was brought to my soul. Like, I mean, the Eagles really haven't had any bad games. I mean, even that Washington's game. I mean, it was just like,
Well,
whatever.
it was turnovers. Yeah, that's the only reason we
Yeah, I was like,
lost.
but it was kind of like a little bit was like, I kind of want them to lose just to get this loss out of the way.
They seemed very like okay with losing at the time.
Yeah,
So
and I'm not gonna lie. I know we did the podcast at that. I felt okay with it too.
yeah, I
But
wasn't too butthurt.
this Cowboys loss was like more joy was brought to me than I would say half the wins we had. Some of the yeah, there was half the wins that were better than the Cowboys losing. But man, overtime to Dougie P to the Jaguars, the fashion that they lost, oh, all beautiful in every possible way. And
Yep.
to set it up so we can beat the Cowboys next week to just secure pretty much everything. Oh, sign me up. Do it with Gardner Minshew too. Even better.
Gardner Minshew, baby. Yeah,
We're
Minshew
spoiled,
mania.
man. We were spoiled. I love Jalen, and Jalen's the dog, and he's the guy for the future, and he is the MVP candidate. So it's wonderful to say you have a starting quarterback to an MVP candidate. But listen, Minshew's the coolest guy in the NFL. The
Yeah, I mean
backup quarterback on our team is the coolest guy in the NFL.
we can get to that when we get to our picks, but yeah, I'm not too worried. Like
No, not at all. Not at all.
um
I just can't wait till the whole everyone that shoots the mouth and runs their gums about the Cowboys going to the Super Bowl. It's this year. And then they have to defend the fact that they lost to the Jaguars and then Gardner Minshew back-to-back weeks.
I mean,
That's gonna
and
be a tough
especially
one.
because Minshew was like from Jacksonville too. Like
Beautiful. It's beautiful.
uh love it. It's like written in the stars.
It's so nice.
Another game that nobody wanted, Broncos and the Cardinals. Broncos won 24-15. So that
Who
happened.
cares?
Titans lost to the Chargers 17-14. That game was pretty down the wire. And then was it Mike Williams caught like a bomb from Herbert, I think, and then put him in a field goal range, and they kicked it away right at the end of that game. So nice little buzzer there.
Titans are a weird
Um,
team. They just seem like they're on the downward slope. I think they already peaked.
they do
I think
this every year. I feel like, yeah, they're a weird team.
nothing exciting about them.
Another collapse of a game. We had the Buccaneers lost to the Bengals, 34-23. Yeah, the Bucks were up what, like 17-3 or like they 16, I forget it was. They were up like
Yeah,
three
that was
scores at one point, and then Joe Burrow had a halftime. Was like, all right, time to start playing, and then they just took care of business. Brady hasn't looked that good at all this year, so
no. Yeah. I mean, I listen. Brady did not look good, but I mean, are
they're
you
I mean
really gonna get on
they're hurt. The
Brady about
coaching's
that?
been kind of like all over the place too. So
I was to say they let up what was it like 4 touchdowns consecutively. Like
yeah,
he doesn't play defense.
no. Um, The second probably wildest game we had was the Raiders and the Patriots. Raiders won 30-24 in probably one of the craziest final plays I've ever seen. Where for
That
some
was insane.
reason, the Patriots said, "Hey, let's do laterals," even though the game's tied. And it was regulation. It's not like it was overtime. It was regulation. End of the game, and Stevenson like was running through. Um, got pretty far, and then he tossed it back to one of his receivers. And this motherfucker decided, I'm going to throw it backwards all the way to half field. And who is sitting there waiting? Chandler Jones picks it off, and then the icing on the cake, he stiff arms Mac Jones right into the ground,
I mean, Mac Jones
buries
isn't tackle
buries
Chandler Jones.
buries him, and then runs down the
Yeah,
field for a walk off touchdown. Is that even an interception? Like, what do you call that? Like
uh,
a lateral
idiotic.
pick? Like, I
Honestly,
don't even know.
idiotic.
It was so stupid. But it's like, man, if I was at that game, that would have been nuts.
My soul, I wouldn't have been able to, my soul would still be fractured. I wouldn't have been able to compose myself a week later.
Insane.
Brutal.
Insane. All right. And then we had the Sunday night game, which was actually a surprisingly good game. Giants and the Commanders. Giants won 20-12. I mean, the Commanders had this game like 4 times over. Like
Yeah.
they could have won. They kept messing up, and I mean, the fishing was definitely not helping them. They had a lot of bad calls. Like the last touchdown throw, or the not wasn't a touchdown, but the last throw into the end zone was definitely pass interference, and nothing was called. So, but
You know,
happens.
yeah, you have your opportunities. You need to make the most of them.
And then Packers won 24-12 over the Rams. Seemed like it was more of a defensive game for the Pack, and Rodgers did, enough. So,
Could you imagine the disappointment by whoever makes these games? Like,
oh, I
oh
know.
man, they're thinking ESPN Monday Night Football. We've got the reigning MVP playing the defending Super Bowl champions in Lambeau.
Mm-hmm.
Like the preseason meeting must have been like out of control, like just losing their mind, jaws on the floor, like this is going to be awesome. Like there's no way this game isn't incredible.
Yeah.
And here we are
Yeah.
with a game that I got to be honest with you, I could have watched a rerun of Family Guy and I'd be more into that than I would of this game. Like a rerun I've seen like 10 times, like one of
Mm,
those kind of reruns, or throw on The Office, like just one I've seen multiple times. Much more entertaining than seeing this train wreck.
yeah.
But hey, someone won. Someone had to win, as they do.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's it for the games of the week. From that, who are our studs and duds? Haven't had this segment in a while.
It's been a while. No, it's been brewing for a while. Don't worry. I just know I never skip a week. I've had a
Okay.
stud and dud every single week.
Oh,
I never let keep the foot off the gas pedal.
beautiful.
So
Let's,
I'm assuming we're still in a good mood, right? It's Christmas. The Eagles are 13-1.
yeah.
Gardner Minshew is about to beat the Eagles
Yeah,
or
it's
beat the Cowboys.
Christmas Eve Eve, you know?
Eve, yeah,
Eve Eve, yeah.
we're getting there.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, let's roll right into this one. And I'm
Okay.
just going to say, my studs have a defensive presence this week. Got to
Oh,
keep you on your toes. I haven't seen you in a
you
while,
know,
so I wanted
you
to
know
keep
what?
you guessing.
I like my defense.
It's very true. So this guy is actually someone that I gave a little praise to in the beginning of the season.
Okay.
He was someone I picked for an award at the end of the year.
Okay.
He played, and he's been very solid. He's actually making me look pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. But this game, he came out and balled out an extra, looking like the superstar that the Giants definitely were hoping that he would become when they drafted him. So
Yes.
my man had 12 total tackles, 9 solo, led the team, a sack, 3 tackles for loss, plus a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
And in a game that was 20-12, that touchdown meant a lot.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go with my preseason defensive rookie of the year, Kayvon Thibodeau, on the third stud this week.
I had my reservations about him because A, he was going to the Giants. And
True.
B, he kind of just gave me that vibe of those big time players that weren't really. He was from what, the Pac-12?
Oregon.
Oh, or yeah, yeah. And I'm just like, maybe he won't work out. Maybe he'll be a bust. got the skill set, but will translate to the NFL. But yeah, he's been great. I
Yeah.
mean, he was hurt for a little and then he got quiet, but now, he just
See,
turned it on,
his career so far parallels Michael Parsons so much, and this is what I thought of when I was
which
went the
sucks for
preseason.
us.
I know exactly. I know, and I think I even said that when I picked him as my defensive rookie of the year. I was like, these are two five-star superstar recruits coming out of high school. They went to two big schools, but not like big schools. Like they didn't go to the SEC, they didn't go to Ohio State, they didn't do any of that. No Clemson. They, were very solid. Maybe you could argue didn't live up to the expectations of being the superstar recruit they were.
Mm,
Attitude problems came around when it came around to draft time and when everyone's bringing down everyone that they can. They had a little cocky vibe. They're, too ahead of themselves. And then they get drafted by an NFC East rival. And now they're in the pros getting paid a lot of money and suddenly they want to turn it on. So they parallel too much. But yeah, so I mean, it kills me to put a Giant on the list, but I'm in a good mood. It's Christmas, so Kayvon Thibodeau, third stud.
yeah, yeah. He's looking good. I mean, Jordan Davis is not on their level, but I'm very happy with that pick for us.
Oh, without a
So
doubt, Jordan Davis is awesome.
yeah,
Jordan Davis isn't splashy. They are all very good players.
I'll
It's just
take. I
Jordan
mean,
Davis isn't splashy.
the Kobe Dean still hasn't really had a time to shine. I mean, even when he got a little bit of game time a couple weeks ago, and he had like 6 tackles in like 6 minutes.
Yeah, I'm listening. I'm
So
not worried. We'll be
yeah,
all right.
yeah,
It's a good thing for him. Let him develop a little bit.
yeah.
Let him heal that pec injury that apparently everyone in the NFL was scared of. Didn't look like that big of a problem when he played, but yeah,
Honestly, yeah, I
another time.
forgot all about that, but yeah, that's a good point.
Exactly. All right, moving on. So we're gonna go with offensive side of the ball this time.
Mm,
I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna have a little moment and just say that I would still be in my fantasy playoffs if this guy didn't want to have the best game of his entire career, but another time, another day.
happens.
It did help me a little bit soften the blow that he did this against one of our hated rivals, and it felt so good seeing him not do it once, not doing it twice, but three times scoring. So for 6 receptions, 109 yards, 3 touchdowns,
Mm.
including one that was like a 59-yard deep ball where he just like threw a guy to the ground, made him look foolish, and like turned around at the goal line. He's like, you chumps. I'm gonna go with Zay Jones. Zay
Zay
Jones from the Jacksonville
Jones.
Jaguars.
What a
And not
name.
a name,
The
yeah, not a name I would
journeyman.
have thought. I gotta be honest, this stud list is the most obscure stud list I've ever done,
I
to
like
be
it.
honest
I
with you.
like it.
The fact that we have a rookie and Zay Jones so far tells you everything. And I promise you,
Did
it's
you
only going to get wilder.
when we started this back in 2020, did you expect Zay Jones to ever make your stud list?
No, I got to be honest. No, I did not.
Yeah.
Now I've got one for you. Now
Oh.
I've got one for you that, like I said, it's the most obscure list we've done. So coming in at number one stud,
Okay.
a guy that I said Zay Jones had the game of his career. This guy had the game of his life. I mean, we're talking about a guy that when he dominated whatever high school city he grew up in, that he was the best player that's ever touched that field.
Hmm.
This is the best game of his entire life. I don't know him personally, but I can guarantee it's the best team of his entire life. And first off, I'm going to tell you to go fuck yourself because you made this rule of one person from each team, and I've stuck to that until this moment. So this guy, coming
Damn.
off one of my favorite games of the entire year, just like Zay Jones, plays for those beautiful Jacksonville Jaguars, had
Mm.
18 total tackles, 9 solos, not one, but 2 interceptions, including a pick six to end the game and ruin the
It was a
Cowboys'
great
life.
catch too.
It was so nice.
Oh, I love that.
And
I will allow it. I will allow
I
it.
apologize. I got too carried away. It was the merriness in me, man. But I've always been
'Tis the
good. I've stuck
season.
to the rules. But we're gonna go with number one stud, Rayshawn Jenkins.
He did ball out. He did ball out.
It is the most obscure stud list I've ever done, but I honestly don't know
I'm
where
here
else I would
for
have
it.
gone.
I'm here for it.
3 touchdowns, Say Jones, and then Rashawn Jenkins with the greatest game of his life, including a pick six in overtime. Oh, so nice.
Against none
I
other
think it was
than
worth
the
it.
Dallas Cowboys.
Can I get your blessings on breaking your rules?
I
Thank you,
shall
sir.
let this, in the spirit of the good merriness, I shall let this pass.
Cheers to that and fuck the Cowboys.
Just absolutely fuck the Cowboys.
All right, well, now we're all happy, feeling ourselves, and off to a good
Yes.
time. Let's move on to the downside. So, we're going to roll right into, and I'm just going to tell you, I have 2 Super Bowl winning coaches on my dud list to shoot this week.
Interesting.
Off to the first one. So, the first one we have one is Very, you know what? I don't feel like people talk about this enough. We're talking about a big, big drop off in between one year to the other. And you
Mhm.
know what your biggest change is they switched head coaches. And especially, I think it was Raheem Mostert I had on this list last when we did it. Defensive minded guy who just his defense was getting torched. Let's go to another defensive minded guy whose defense is now allowed at 34 and 35 points back to back weeks, whose team is now sitting at a putrid 6-8. They're still in the fight for a division title, which is insane. But you can't tell me that these Buccaneers have looked any glimpse of anywhere near what they were when Bruce Arians was the head coach. So Todd Bowles is my first dud here. And say what you want. I know there's injuries on the offensive line. Gronk retired, but you still have the greatest football player ever. You
Yeah.
still have loaded options on your offense. You still have tons of defensive superstars. You have a defensive head coach who just gave up 35 and 35 points the last 2 weeks. Joe Burrow dropped 4 touchdowns in a row consecutively before the Buccaneers did a damn thing about it. And by the damn thing about it, I mean kick a field goal when the game was already over. They completely shut down in the second half. So I don't think this gets enough airplay, but this Buccaneers team, since Arians is retired, is not the same team. And that roster looks very similar, but they have fallen off a cliff. So we're going to go with Todd Bowles as our third dud this week.
Yeah, they just been looking rough, and I don't that the
Six and
NFC
eight.
South look
Six and eight.
the NFC South looks worse than the NFC East did like last year and the previous years. Like it's what the Eagles won the one year when they were like what 7-9 or 7-8 or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not as this is worse.
The
Like
Panthers, who fired their coach and are a train wreck, might win the division. It's not even make the playoffs, might win the division.
oh, if
Like I said, I
either of
picked them in the
those
beginning of the year. If they go to
if
the playoffs,
if either of those teams wins out, they win the NFC South because they play each other in 2 weeks. So if either of them wins out, like they get the Can you imagine the Panthers? Who the fuck is playing quarterback? Is it Sam Darnold now? Like who even knows?
listen, I told you from the beginning of the year, Panthers are making the playoffs. Did I expect it to go down
You
this way?
did.
Maybe not,
If
right?
that happens, I'll give you your flowers because that is insane to me. There's no
Thank you,
fucking
sir.
way. All right, move on.
M-
Who's next?
Moving on. So we got another Super Bowl winning coach, and this one is going to stir the pot a little bit. We're arguably talking about the greatest coach to ever coach the game of football.
Hmm.
But listen, the greatest coach that ever has coached the game of football does not put out a performance that I saw this week. His team put up 6 penalties, 3 false starts. They had a idiotic block punt where the guy on the end, Jabril Peppers, just decided I'm not going to block anyone this time. And what do you know? They got a block punt. And they just looked out of sync. And this has been happening for a couple weeks now. Mac Jones has visually cursed out Matt Patricia as offensive coordinator multiple weeks in a row now. Mac Jones looks horrendous.
He's bad, yeah.
He looks horrendous. He was great in his rookie season. Josh McDaniels leaves. Bill Belichick very questionably brings in Matt Patricia, a defensive coach who looks like a buffoon in Detroit, to run the offense with a second-year quarterback that he's going to give the franchise to. And it's looked as disastrous as you thought it would be.
Yep.
This team gets so many penalties. This team has more penalties than I think Belichick's probably had in the last decade. They look completely undisciplined, uncoached, and they don't know what they're doing. And then let's get back to it. The cherry on top of it. I'd never seen a Bill Belichick coach team ever do something as dumb as I just saw this past week.
Yeah.
We've already hinted on a little bit, but you're right. The game was tied. There was no miracle needed to be happen. Like you could
No,
have just gone to overtime. What the hell were you thinking? When you
they
threw
weren't.
the ball 30 yards backwards, in best case scenario, Mac Jones catches that ball and gets leveled by Chandler Jones. That is the best case scenario. Like, I don't understand
Probably
what
still
else you
causes
think
a
was going to,
fumble.
but like, what else did you think was going to happen? Mac Jones was back there by himself. He's not going to throw the ball forward. He is going to get leveled by Chandler Jones. That is the best case scenario. The worst case scenario is exactly what happened. I don't understand what the hell was going through that guy's mind. And considering how Belichick has had such a good leash on his team and they don't make these stupid mistakes, they don't have penalties, they don't have blown special teams assignments, they don't have quarterbacks cursing out their offensive coordinator on national TV. This doesn't look like a Bill Belichick team. This dud nominee should have probably happened earlier in the year. But man, this team is a disaster. I can't even believe that this is a Bill Belichick team. So number 2 dud, we're going with Belichick.
Never
I
thought he'd
just,
be
I
on the
just
dud list.
it's amazing. It really is. It's really amazing. I still think I can't remember like best case scenario, Mac Jones gets his head taken off. Like I don't understand where the thinking was. Moving on.
Yeah. And Chandler Jones, former Patriot, icing on the cake there.
It's true. Now my dud list actually has come full circle. I know we're big
Oh,
into full circle here. So
circles are good.
we started with an NFC South coach who
Okay.
coaches Tom Brady. Then we moved on to Tom Brady's former coach, Bill Belichick,
Okay.
who in tandem with Tom Brady beat my number 1 dud
Well,
in a pain pain painful loss. And I would say the worst blown lead I've ever seen in my life up until this past week that he was also involved in. And like, yeah, listen, when you blow a 33-point lead, it isn't one person. Like that's a whole team effort. You really all have to be terrible to lose a game like that. But when you look at the scoreboard being 39-36, you would expect a little bit better than 19 out of 33, 182 yards and 1 touchdown. Matt Ryan somehow only put up 1 touchdown, 182 yards passing in a game where his team scored 36 points.
yeah,
And then he couldn't hold on to the ball long enough just so that the other team couldn't score 33 points in 30 minutes.
he's washed.
He needs, listen, Matt, I don't know you, you don't know me, you don't want to know me, and that's fine. I'm merely nothing to you. But buddy, I think you've had a good career. There's nothing against you. You've been a good guy. You've been a very good player. Let's call it a career after this season. I mean, dude, I don't know how you go home every night and then do this again. Like, my soul hurts for you. I know you're not going to listen to me, Matt. I know you
He
could
might. He could
care
tune in. I
less.
don't know.
Uh, call it a career, bud. This one's painful. You are now on the wrong side of history for the worst blown lead in regular season history, Super Bowl history, and I think he's got the worst blown lead in postseason history if I saw something correct. Buddy, you need to call it a career. Let's put it away. Go enjoy your time. Spend some time at home. Don't ever watch the replays of Super Bowl 51 and call it a night because that
Who
was putrid.
who is that Colts cornerback who just retired at halftime? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Vontae Davis, yeah, on the
Vontae
Bills.
Davis. Let's cheers to Matt Ryan.
Yeah, cheers to you, buddy.
Pull a Vontae Davis and just retire right now.
You
Like,
need to.
just call
You
it a
need
career,
to.
man.
Listen, I feel for him, and there's nothing wrong with Matt Ryan. He seems like, I mean, I don't know, but he seems like a good guy. There's no issues with him. He's been in the league for a while. No, like,
His
no
his
locker
stats
room
are
drama.
his stats are borderline Hall of Fame, I'd argue, but I
He's like
mean,
a more vanilla Philip Rivers. Like he's got a Philip Rivers like career, but he's more vanilla. He doesn't have the
sure.
non-curse word trash talking and 9 kids. But my guy, man, I feel bad for your soul. You can't keep on doing this to yourself. So I hate to kick you while you're down, but 33-point blown lead with the stats you put up, that's our number 1 dud, Matt Ryan, maybe.
Damn. Well, the way you were going into that, I thought you were going to do the first ever studs and duds list where we have an entire team. I thought you were just going to say the
Well,
Indianapolis Colts are the duds of the week.
if it wasn't for a quarterback that blew 28-point lead in the Super Bowl, then yeah. But what are you gonna do? I mean, it's hard to put the defense on this. They're like the only ones that score points.
This is true. All right. So we are done with the studs and duds. So now we go into the Too Much Whiz segment. And it's funny that you did discuss Mr. Matt Ryan because I did in fact have a Too Much Whiz for Matt Ryan.
What do you got for me?
So for a gentleman coined the name Matty Ice, he sure seems to be melting a lot under pressure.
Clever.
Too Much Whiz is Matt Ryan. I mean, you can use unlucky or just like unclutch. Is he the like most unlucky quarterback when it comes to holding on to a lead that you've ever watched in the NFL? I mean, we had the Super
Holding
Bowl.
on.
We have this
I
game.
mean,
There were multiple other games in his career with the Falcons where he blew 10, 15-point leads in the fourth quarter.
Oh, I mean, it was a running thing after the Super Bowl loss. It was like nearly every other week. I without a doubt. I'm not even going to put thought into this. This is without a doubt. I mean,
Okay.
I feel bad for the guy because when he retires and we think of Matt Ryan, it'll be blown leads. That's all his career is going to be. It's very sad, but that's all it is.
Yeah. So I'm looking at this now because I remember there was a stat, not a stat, but Matt Ryan has been on the losing end of the biggest blown leads in NFL international game history in an
Oh,
overseas
that's what it
game.
was. Not playoffs. It was international.
In regular season history, which we just saw, biggest blown lead in the NFC Championship game history when they played the Niners,
Hmm,
and I think
that's a fun one.
Kaepernick was still the quarterback,
Did yeah.
and then biggest Super Bowl blown lead in NFL history. Yeah, I'm looking at this right here. It was obviously 28-3 in the Super Bowl. He was he was up 10 on San Diego when the Chargers were in San Diego with 5 minutes left. They were up 15 on the They were up 15 on the Cowboys with 4 minutes left. They were up 16 on the Bears with 6 minutes left, and then they were up 21. No, 17. They were up 17 over Tampa in the fourth quarter. It was
You
like
know what? Like that list you just mentioned, those last four games, those would be like one of the worst moments of many players' careers. That is like something I don't even recognize.
they'd only have it
Matt
happen to them
Ryan.
once.
I was just saying, like Matt Ryan has so many other
It's so
painful
bad.
moments. Like it's like you don't even think about them. It's like, oh, but that compares nothing to the other ones.
20
Feel
years
bad
from
for the guy.
now, 20 years from now, people look at Matt Ryan highlights and it'll just be all the blown leads.
That's literally all it is. That's a, you know what? His Damon Phillip Rivers' career aren't very different. I
No,
actually say Matt Ryan's been more successful. You know
I
what?
think
Matt
Matt
Ryan
Ryan
has
was.
been more
I
successful.
think
Yeah.
Matt Ryan was a better quarterback in his
But you know
prime.
what you never hear? You never hear Matt Ryan's name ever mentioned in the Hall of Fame. Phillip Rivers' Hall of Fame conversation is stupid. He's not a Hall of Famer.
He just threw the
But
ball a lot.
he's not a Hall of Famer. He's
No,
nowhere near a Hall of Famer. Matt Ryan has got a much better case than Phillip Rivers does, and there's no way he'll ever even be mentioned in it because only thing people think of is the games he lost. And I feel bad for the guy.
yeah,
But what are you gonna do? Moving on.
yeah. Moving on to another relative of Matt Ryan, and by relative I mean someone who attributed to this blown loss record of his, Mr. Thomas Brady. So, my question to you: Too much whiz. When this season is over, Tom Brady is either going to retire or go to another team. But either way, he is not going back to Tampa next year. Too much whiz.
Oh, he's no, definitely retiring. Absolutely no way he goes to another team. And I feel bad for Matt Ryan because I feel like he's going to probably retire the same year as Tom Brady, and Tom Brady's going to take the spotlight from him
Of
again.
course.
There is absolutely no way he goes to another team. Tom Brady is retiring. He's taking Greg Olson's job, and he's going to travel around getting paid $30 million a year to call football games and bang women all over the country. That is what his life is now.
Yeah. That'll
He
be
continues to be the GOAT in life.
yeah, good for him, man.
Listen,
All
well, I
right.
said this when they got divorced. Him getting divorced pretty much guaranteed that he was retiring next year. He's going to go live the single life.
Jeez. Moving on from Bachelor Brady. Another player we kind of touched on, Jalen Hurts. So,
Hmm.
my question to you:
Go
Too
ahead.
much whiz. If Jalen doesn't suit up in the next 3 games, has a bye, and his first game back is a playoff game, the Eagles will lose. Too much whiz. If he sits for a month
Well,
and does
you
not,
no, stop. Don't explain. Get out of here with that ridiculous question. Do you really think I'm going
it's
to sit here and
valid.
say, "Oh yeah, the Eagles are going to lose their first playoff"? Get the freak out of here.
A month
No,
of
okay,
rest. A month of rest.
I agree. I don't like the month of rest, but get the notion out of your skull that the Eagles are going to lose the first
I'm not
game in
saying
the
it's gonna
playoffs.
happen. This is just all
Who do you think?
hypothetical.
Okay, theoretically, all right, we'll go with that. Who are the Eagles going to play? Probably Brock Purdy, Niners, a Vikings
No, the
team,
Niners are gonna win their division, so it'll probably be an NFC.
Cowboys,
It'll probably be Cowboys or an NFC South team because they'll play the lowest seed.
whoever wins. Yeah.
Yeah.
There is zero possible way you think I'm going to say anything but the Eagles go and destroy whoever comes out for them.
I'm
I
just
don't like
I just put it out there.
I listen, I agree. I think that there's a real chance that he doesn't play football for a whole month, and I do not like that.
Nope.
But this team's loaded. He's awesome. I'm not worried at all.
Okay. Well, that will wrap up our too much whiz and our studs and duds. Moving on, we have our power rankings. Starting off at 10, we have the Chargers. This is mostly unchanged from last week. Chargers at 10, Ravens at 9, Dolphins at 8. Dallas drops one spot to 7. Vikings move up one spot to 6. Bengals at 5. 49ers at 4. The Kansas City Chiefs at 3. Buffalo Bills at 2. And your Fly Eagles Fly at number 1. I will ask, did
How many
you...
weeks is that at number 1 now?
That's a good question. I think we put them at number 1 when they were like the last big undefeated team between like the Bills and the Chiefs.
So probably when the Bills lost to the Dolphins.
It might have been. I don't remember. That's a good question. But I was gonna say, did you hear that the Jason Kelsey, Jordan Mailata, and Lane Johnson made a little Christmas album? Did you see that?
I did. Did
you give it a listen?
I have. It was very good. I was impressed. They don't
I
ship
was
those albums to the UK, unfortunately.
I was telling a friend because she had mentioned about it, and I was like, yeah, I thought it would be like a fun little album, like they'd have a good time, they'd be like, oh yeah, it was cool. But it's like they can all sing. Like it was pretty. I was impressed.
It was pretty good. Listen,
like,
Jordan Mailata was on The Masked Singer a couple of years ago. I remember.
Oh yeah.
It was the funniest reaction ever because it was like this was like I mean I don't know if I would even say he's a big name now, but this was like before anyone, even football fans, really knew Jordan Mailata. And I remember like Nick Cannon taking off says like, "Oh, it's NFL player Jordan Mailata," and everyone had the fake reaction like, "Oh my God, it's Jordan Mailata!" Like I guarantee you, no one actually knew who the hell he was. I was like, "Oh, look at that, Jordan Mailata." So you can sing, but hey, roll into some Christmas games because we got games on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. Life is good.
I will say I did my research real quick. October 6th, we announced the Eagles were the number 1 team, week 5. And I don't think, even when they lost to Washington, that we dropped them at all. I think they've been at number 1 since week 5. So, good stuff. Good stuff.
It never ends. We're going to end the season on number 1. So, all right, Christmas gifts. What do we got underneath the tree?
Christmas gifts. Well, to recap, we had a great showing across the board. We all went 12-4 in our game picks, which was quite surprised because I took a couple opposites from you, and then we all basically just flipped. So I had Houston, you had Carolina, those canceled. I had the Falcons and the Cowboys, you had the Saints and Jags, those canceled. I had Denver and the Raiders, you had Cardinals and Patriots, that canceled.
Such bullshit.
So
just don't do the dumbest play in NFL history, and that would be nice.
And Bobby kept the guest picks in the running for close, keeping them close to our picks. He also went 12-4. So, but there you have it. Going into it, we have to start. Jaguars beat the Jets on Thursday night football, 19-3. I mean, we were both
as I predicted.
Jaguars,
yeah, as I predicted. Yeah.
And we have so this is going to be a weird. So tomorrow is like the majority. Saturday is the majority of the games. It's basically a flip of last week. So Sunday will be like 3 games, I think.
I love it, man. Christmas Eve football, and then you got NBA on Christmas Day.
Yeah,
life is good.
Yeah. So starting off, we have Falcons and the Ravens. Who do you? I believe Lamar's back. So who do you like in that one?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Lamar's confirmed back. Is he for sure?
I don't know for sure. I just heard rumblings that he's probably back.
For the Ravens playoffs. Yeah, for the Ravens.
Desmond Ritter's playing now, so.
Oh, you're right. I forgot about that. Yeah, Lamar Jackson's not playing. But I still think the Ravens pull out this game. They need it. They need it badly.
Yeah, they've been a weird team this year. So I will also take La Ravens. Next game is the Lions and the Panthers. I'm going to take the Lions, but I have this weird feeling that the Panthers might sneak this out. But I'm going to take the Lions. But I would not be shocked if the Panthers somehow won this one.
The Lions are arguably one of the hottest teams in football right now, but for the sake of like my Panthers in the playoffs pick, I think I need
You
the
have
Panthers
to.
to win this. I'm taking the Panthers.
Damn. I think they might do it. I think there's a good chance. I was pretty
I
50-50
can't
on it.
wait. I can't wait till they make the playoffs.
I will be. I'll have to eat my words. That'll be insane. Seahawks and the Chiefs is our next game. Who do you like in that one?
Oh, the Seahawks are going the wrong way. The Chiefs are taking this one.
Yeah, I think the Seahawks are finally kind of being exposed for being a mediocre team.
Hey, Gino's done great, but you know,
Yeah.
it's always so far.
But a lot of their weaknesses are coming to the forefront here. So I will take KC as well, especially because I picked against them last week. Next
Idiotic.
game, Saints and the Browns. I mean, the Browns honestly look better with Jacoby Brissett and not Deshaun Watson, but it is what it is. However, we need the Saints to lose so the Eagles get a good draft pick. So I will pick Cleveland.
Yeah, I mean, they looked good with Brissett just because Brissett was there in training camp and with them whole season. Like, it's going to take Watson a couple games to get used to it. I still think they win this game, though. So,
Okay.
Saints in the top five. Let's do it. And it'll be even better next week when we get to beat the Saints and help our draft position. But I'm taking the Browns.
Fair enough. Next game, Texans at the Titans. Did the Texans finally get it? Like, they've played so many close games. Do they finally get a win here over the really, really struggling Titans?
No, I'm taking
Okay.
the Titans.
Yeah, I'm taking Titans too. uh, I just wanted to build it up. You know, you never know.
I appreciate it. Good storyteller.
Bengals and the Patriots. I
Uh, I mean, after the putrid performance, the problem is Mac Jones and Matt Patricia are going to end up cursing each other out at halftime. So how are they going to manage to score 35 points, which Joe Burrow is going to drop on them? So I'm going with the Bengals.
yeah, I'm gonna take the Bengals as well. My only excuse was gonna be it's Belichick, and I can't see him coming out with a poor game plan again after all that. But
He's
yeah,
on the dud list for a reason.
I'll take the Bengals. Giants and the Vikings. I don't know. The Giants
I
have kind of
mean,
shown that they're not great. Vikings need a win, so they need some consistency. I'll take the Vikings.
the Giants are frauds. I kind of thought the
Straight
Vikings were
up.
frauds, but I mean, they did come back from 33 and win.
They're
That was
half
very
fraud.
impressive. I see their game was like I feel like most people have a hangover. They get an incredible game like that, and they fall apart the next game. I feel like it's the opposite. I think they're going to take that and run it with momentum. The Giants are frauds, though. That's what it really comes down to. So let's take the Vikings.
Next game we have is the Bills and the Bears. You like?
Yeah, 3-11 versus 11-3. We're going to go Bills.
Yeah, I'll take the Bills as well. Then we have the Commanders and the 49ers. And this is going to be my upset of the week. I'm going to take Washington. I think they have more to lose than the Niners do. The Niners aren't really going to be worried about Seattle catching them. And Rams have been eliminated, which is crazy. Super Bowl winners eliminated week 14. And the Cardinals are also basically eliminated because they're don't have a quarterback. So yeah, I think Commanders could do it. I mean, they just need to clean up they were a little sloppy in the fourth quarter. I think if they clean that up and or Chase Young's playing, so maybe
He
that'll
is,
be an
yes.
impact. So I'll take the Commanders.
I mean, the Niners, I thought were always the biggest contenders to the Eagles up
Yeah.
until Jimmy G got hurt. Brock Purdy's a good story, and that offense and defense, the whole team is freaking loaded. But let's be honest, Brock Purdy's not going to go that far, but he'll win this game.
Okay.
So I'm taking the Niners. And all the people that shit on the McCaffrey trade, oh, running backs have no value, blah, 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 blah. Like, just, you think Brock Purdy would be doing anything if it wasn't for McCaffrey, especially with Debo Samuel out? You're insane.
Oh, if McCaffrey
Running
went
backs
down,
have
they would be.
value.
Yeah, McCaffrey goes
Yeah.
down, they're bad. But
If they didn't have McCaffrey, they'd be screwed. Imagine if they didn't make that trade in the situation they're now. They're 10-4, about to go to the playoffs and win their division. And
yeah,
McCaffrey has a lot to do with that. So people are screaming, "Oh, this is a terrible trade. This is a terrible." I don't know about that.
yeah. All right. Then we got our game of the week: Eagles at the Cowboys. Minshew mania. What do you like?
I'm gonna get Christmas Eve You know what? Actually, Santa will be arriving while that game's going on because I think it's later. It's 9:25 game. So
Well,
when the Eagles,
4:25 in America, but yes.
well, yeah, yeah, yeah. So when the Eagles beat the Cowboys with Gardner Minshew, Santa will be arriving at my house, and it'll be a blissful moment. And I can't wait for the complete 360 of all the excuses. Oh, we had Cooper Rush. That's why we lost. Okay, well, our backup quarterback just beat you. So, coolest player in the NFL. We're going Minshew Mania. Go Birds, baby.
Yeah, it, I would have been nervous if it was any other scenario, but I was telling this to my coworker. I was like, I'm not even worried. Like, Minshew doesn't even have to do a lot. They can just run that ball, and then if Dallas can stop Sanders in the running attack, then they will throw to AJ Brown or let Devontae
Exactly.
Smith, uh, cook up their cornerbacks. Who, I mean, Dallas is pretty injured on defense too. Their secondary's missing a lot of players. So if they
Don't give them
can,
excuses now. Listen, those cockroaches will find excuses. Don't start feeding them.
but
Listen, Brock Purdy.
I'm all for the Minshew Mania. I think he's going to get a dub here, and we're going to be able to rub it in Dallas's face for the rest of the year. I mean, hopefully, nothing bad happens in the playoffs, but it's gonna be good.
Brock Purdy's winning a lot of games right now because his team's loaded. The Eagles are freaking loaded. Gardner
Dak is
Minshew's going to win some
Dak
games
has
too.
also played pretty poorly the last like 3 weeks, so
Yeah. Well, the
he's thrown a
Cowboys
lot of
stink. So
picks. So then the Sunday night game is, or excuse me, Saturday night game is Raiders and the Steelers. I'm going Vegas, baby.
50-year anniversary of the Immaculate Reception. R.I.P. Franco Harris.
Oh yes.
Terrible, terrible timing. But you know what? I'm going to take the Raiders too. In a weird way, I think they're going to carry that momentum. I am a big momentum guy. I'm a big momentum guy. And the Steelers have done absolutely nothing to make me think that they're going to win a game. So give me the Raiders.
Well, we only have I think a 2 game. You have a 2 or 3 game lead on me, so I just gotta.
I'm also keeping myself, cushion myself. On those
Okay.
close games, coin flips, I'll just take whatever you take.
Yeah. Well. Moving into Sunday, we have 3 games. So we have Packers and Dolphins. It's if it was in Lambeau, I would think differently, but it's in Miami, so I will take the Dolphins.
They could play on the moon. I'm still taking the Dolphins.
Next game, Broncos and the Rams. Good Lord.
Oh, shoot. Is that oh my god, that the only game we have at that time on Sunday?
Yeah.
You know what?
Ready.
I don't have my NBA package. I usually get it when, then if the season's over. I might have to buy it early. I cannot possibly watch that game. Ugh,
Hold
God.
on.
I
Let's do heads is
I mean,
Broncos, Rams is tails. Hey Siri, flip a coin.
I guess Russell Wilson's still playing, so I don't know. I guess I'll take the Broncos.
She's not gonna do it. Hey Siri, flip a coin. Tails.
Oh,
What
well,
did I said so I'll take Rams then. You've got Broncos.
yeah. Well, one storyline in a very painful game no one's interested in. Bobby Wagner versus Russell Wilson for the first time in their careers. That's something.
That's interesting.
That's cool, but I'd rather,
Got your
dislocate
eyes
one of
out.
my toes than watch that.
All right. And then Sunday night game, Buccaneers and the Cardinals.
Jeez, man.
Christmas.
The
Good
the
time to
NFL
spend time with your family.
the NFL's like, you know what? We'll let the NBA have their day. I'll take the Buccaneers. I think they need this. Tom Brady will do their way through
Yeah.
it.
So prime time, Brady. Yeah, I'm taking the Bucks. And then final game, Chargers and Colts. I will take the Chargers.
Yeah, after that collapse, the Colts have no momentum. They're about dead.
Yeah.
So I'm taking the children.
All right. Well, that wraps up our week 15. Good to be back. Wish everybody safe Christmas and happy Hanukkah, happy holidays.
Merry Christmas to you, my friends. Good to see you again.
All right. Until next time.
Until next time. Peace.
Peace.